Hi everyone, welcome. If you do not know who I am, my name is Jacqueline. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I'm going to be discussing my learning disability story from the very beginning all the way up until right now as a senior in high school. You know, every single person who has a learning disability is extremely different, but there are a lot of things that do tie us all together as a community. And I think it's just really important to share your story if you're able to do so to help the relatability and spreading awareness. And most importantly, I just hope this video brings comfort to other people who are struggling or have a story of their own and just feel a little bit less alone. Before I get into more of my story, I just wanted to mention that I had the incredible opportunity to sit down and actually share my story, funny enough, with a company called Lindamood-Bell. They're a tutoring curriculum and they're just so incredible. They really help struggling readers or people who have diagnosed learning disabilities succeed in multiple areas such as reading, writing, spelling, and math. They are a part of my own disability story, as I'll share later on. I just think they're incredible. I think the curriculum is incredible, and I'm really, really excited to share that I got to do the podcast with them and that it's out now. If you would like to listen, you can go to my website called mindslikemine.com, click on the appearances tab, and if you scroll down a little bit, there'll be a link for the podcast so you can listen to it if you choose to. Let's start from the very beginning of my story, shall we? My story starts way back when in second grade. I had an evaluation done by my school system to see if I had a learning disability or a behavioral problem. There's a lot of signs, but I was having meltdowns in my classes and I'd be sent to the principal's office because of those meltdowns, kind of just lashing out in general. I would turn in assignments completely blank. I would not know how to follow the directions that were given to me. Just a lot of little things piled on top of one another to show my teachers that I was really struggling and I was not performing like my peers were performing. I was just really, really behind. So this is why the evaluation came along. I had this evaluation done and the conclusion was that I did not have a learning disability and I did not have a behavioral problem. Instead, I had anxiety. However, my anxiety was previously diagnosed by someone else outside of the school system. The test did show that I had trouble with spelling, reading, writing, math, and directionality issues. If you are listening to this, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, those definitely seem like signs that would fall under a learning disability. And if you're thinking that, you would be correct. Those are all definitely signs of a learning disability, but the school system just overlooked it and blamed it on anxiety. What did end up coming out of this evaluation was RTI, which means response to intervention. This is something that usually lasts a total of 6 weeks, and it was supposed to be for my reading support. However, mine lasted 2 whole years. Again, you're probably thinking to yourself, if a child is not progressing within 6 weeks or a year and has to go over to 2 years, maybe there's a missing piece of the puzzle, and there definitely was, but again, it was just overlooked, which is a lot of people have these experiences where there are telltale signs of something, of an issue, and school systems just gloss it over and blame it on something else or just don't even take the time to look into it further. My story really starts to pick up in 3rd grade. My mom asked my 3rd grade teacher if I was struggling in school, and the response was yes, I was having a lot of struggle areas. But my teacher did not at all go to my mom. It was my mom who asked my 3rd grade teacher herself. So again, that's so strange why that had to happen, why there was definitely an issue going on at school and the teacher did nothing about it. And people say that the education system is really broken. That's a key component of it, the miscommunication. Why should it be a parent to go to the teacher? Why can't the teacher alert the parent? Anyways, after my mom got this confirmation that I was actually still struggling pretty significantly, she ended up getting me evaluated, my mom and my dad ended up getting me evaluated by a neuropsychologist outside of my school system. I don't remember any of this evaluation, but I do know that I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 9. It's really hard to explain to a 9-year-old child why you are different from your peers, but I do remember feeling it, and I remember that, there was just a lot of times where I felt like the only person in the classroom who didn't know what was going on, and now this was an explanation as to why, but again, telling a 9-year-old child you have dyslexia and here's how it might impact your education is pretty hard to do. After my evaluation in 3rd grade, halfway through 3rd grade, I got an IEP, which means Individualized Education Plan. An IEP means that the individual is in special education and gets accommodations and or specialized services. IEPs are tailored to each and every individual. I ended up getting one to help me with my schooling so I could get some extra support. Let's talk about 4th grade all the way up until 9th grade in this little section. 3rd and 4th grade, I had outside reading support. It wasn't super beneficial. Different tutoring came along later on in my story that was much more helpful than this one was. In my in-school reading support, I did multiple reading programs and never finished any of them. I did a program called Wilson. I did a program called Spire. I did one that was not evidence-based, so it didn't help whatsoever. And I did another one that was called Read 180 when I was in high school. It's really hard. Bouncing around all these different reading programs, or curriculums is another word that's probably more appropriate, and not finishing any of them. It's just really weird, but I guess this is because if I am with a reading support teacher one year and they use a certain curriculum, the next year I'm not guaranteed to be with the same person. So if I get a new reading support teacher, then they might use another curriculum. That's why I never actually got the chance to finish any of them. That also goes to show how the education system can fail children. In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I had some people in my classes called ed techs. They also might be called paraprofessionals. These are adult helpers who helped in my English, science, social studies, and math classes. At this point in time, my math learning disability was not yet identified, so I did not actually have specific math instruction because that wasn't yet known. If a child is in special education and they are about to enter high school, usually there's something called a transition meeting, going from middle school into high school. And my parents had a transition meeting with the high school special education coordinator. In this meeting, the special education coordinator basically said that I was not going to qualify for special education in high school because I didn't really have enough needs. And I had quote-unquote good grades, and so that obviously means I wasn't struggling. No, I was struggling. All throughout elementary school and middle school, my parents helped me so much, and that's why I had good grades. And it's really, really hard because so many people face the same exact issue, where people in their lives think that they aren't struggling because of the report card that they receive back with A's and B's. Their intelligence and grades are not a factor at all when it comes to a learning disability, but people apparently in society are caught up on this. And this is what happened with me numerous times, and it definitely started in that meeting where my good grades were discussed, and that's all. My parents heard this news and decided to have me reevaluated with the same neuropsychologist who diagnosed me with dyslexia previously. This evaluation took place the summer before high school, and before I actually had the evaluation, there was a phone call meeting between the neuropsychologist and my mom discussed that she was pretty concerned about my math abilities because they were nowhere near that of my peers. As I did the evaluation, I was given math tests, and I remember that they were just so hard to do. I definitely felt like, I would say, a failure at the time because I recognized that I should probably know how to do these things, but I didn't know how to do it because when you're in elementary school, for example, there are certain units that have to happen every so often. You have to switch over to a new unit and teach that, which makes sense. But if you're falling behind in the first unit and you automatically have to jump into the second unit and no one understands that you're struggling with the first unit still, then you're just going to keep falling more and more and more behind. That's what happened to me. I was about to enter high school and I didn't even know how to do things that were like second and third grade level for math. Anyways, I did end up getting the diagnosis of dyscalculia. Now, dyscalculia is a math learning disability that is neurological in origin, and it means that people have a really hard time with abstract numbers and concepts and recalling math facts, remembering the steps in multi-step problems, and just equations as a whole can be hard to figure out and solve. All these little things that fall under the umbrella of math were really hard for me to do. All in all, if you're listening to this and you have a really hard time with math and nothing has ever really gotten better for you, there could be a chance you have a math learning disability called dyscalculia. Definitely look into it more. Don't just take my word for it here, because there's a lot of other signs that I did not get to talk about. I also have a video on dyscalculia on my page if you're interested in seeing it. During the summer of 9th grade, I had tutoring that was outside of my school system. I did it through a company called Pine State Learning. And Pine State Learning is a tutoring company that uses the Lindamood-Bell curriculum. Do you remember the Lindamood-Bell that I discussed earlier? Well, it ties into right now. Lindamood-Bell was so beneficial for me. I first started off with their reading program and ended up jumping up 3 reading levels in a single summer. I went from a 7th grade reading grade level all the way up to a 9th grade reading grade level, which ended up being the grade level that I was about to enter, 9th grade. Now, the next summer, my 10th grade summer vacation, I repeated the same exact process but added in math. And Lindamood-Bell has a math curriculum called On Cloud 9. And again, that was so helpful for me because I couldn't do a lot of basic math facts and really anything in math that I was supposed to do. I had no idea how to do it. Penn State Learning's tutoring and the use of the Lindamood-Bell curriculum was golden. I finally understood a lot of things that I didn't previously understand about math. And going back to the reading, the very first time that I was able to read a book by myself happened when I was 15 years old. Yes, 15. Because previously I would use audiobooks or my parents would read reading assignments to me. If you're listening to this and you do want a tutoring curriculum, I highly recommend Lindamood-Bell. Yes, it is definitely pricey, but it is totally worth it in my opinion. Lindamood-Bell really did change my life, and without the tutors and the curriculum, I would not at all be able to read probably as well as I can and do math as well as I can, so I just have nothing but praises for their curriculum and my tutors who helped me. Moving on to 11th grade, I ended up fighting my school system even more, surprise, surprise, because I wanted a recording device, and I did end up getting one, to record certain lectures that I had in my classes. So if I forgot details of a class, I could go back and listen to it. And it was really helpful and still is really helpful. I also did something called Specially Designed Instruction, which was a part of my IEP in junior year of high school. And they also used the Lindamood-Bell curriculum with me only because my parents pushed for it. That specially designed instruction, again, to the Lindamood-Bell program with me for reading and also math. To wrap this up, I'm in senior year of high school. I haven't had to fight my school system on anything. Hooray. It shouldn't be that way because it was a lot of fighting that I've had to do these past couple years, myself and also my parents. If you take away anything from this video, do not settle until your needs are met. And also, parents and students watching this, you have to be your biggest advocate, and our parents, you're also going to have to be the biggest advocate for your children. It can be really hard to navigate the world with a learning disability and constantly having to prove your disability to your school system. I recognize that it was a huge privilege that my parents really were so involved, and I know that's not always the case for everyone, but I hope that this brings you a little bit of extra comfort. With enough pushing, hopefully your needs will also be met if you are currently struggling as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to follow my socials. Check out my website, mindslikemine.com. Again, the podcast is on there if you would like to listen as well to that. If you want more content on learning disabilities, please hit the subscribe button because what this account is dedicated for, spreading awareness for learning disabilities. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye everyone!